All right, in this lesson, we're going to continue our quick start guide into Twine. It's going to be less about learning about hero's journey and storytelling, which we'll get into later, and more about learning, scripting. We'll figure out how to keep track of where the player is from room to room. We'll also look at background colors, fonts, and all that good stuff. Um, what I want to start off with, though, is just how do we map out our space, right? So in their last alien story here, we talked about talking to an alien and these different options and stuff. And within this, you could see we start, we go into, there's a spaceship. The alien responds, I didn't know you speak English, all this good stuff. So what I'm thinking of this lesson is we'll create a new one just to kind of keep sort of building out these little passages. And what we'll do in this one is we'll have it where the player enters the alien ship. So I thought about just going in and modifying this one that we have already over here. But I think for the sake of just kind of practice, we're going to just start a new one completely. So we'll hit back here. And what I do is we're going to be doing two things before we dive into the actual setting up the story. I've shown you guys Photopea in another class. This is another great one. It's just a free drawing tool. I have the link in the description, or you could type this out. But if you click on Start Painting, you can actually sketch inside of here. And what we're going to do is we're just going to sketch out what I'd like to happen. So generally, you want to do a rough outline of what's going to happen in your story before we set it up. And then you want to draw an overhead map. And what might be cool is because your homework assignment is going to be to come up with your own sort of similar story and your own similar map. As you're following along here, maybe you can modify what we're doing here or just sort of sketch your own. But generally, it's better to just follow along and then just modify it later. All right, so we remember from last class that the alien ship won't power on, or sorry, that the alien was there and the person was scared, right? So now we have where the alien ship won't power on and the alien lost its key. We're going to find the key card next to the rock. We're going to enter the ship and discover the engine room, turn on the power, turn the ship on. The doors lock the player in the room and they discover a ladder and they climb up and they actually discover the medical room, not the main bridge. Sorry, I was thinking about when I was writing this out, I was kind of coming up with ideas. But they discover the medical room or medical bay. They meet an alien doctor in the medical room. He's injured and needs medicine, finds a medicine in the cabinet and given to the alien doctor. So this is just a rough outline. We haven't talked about why the alien is injured or anything, and we could flesh that out when we get into our actual story. But right now, these are just story tools, right? And then the same thing. We don't know if the dialogue is going to be funny, scary, whatever, right? But now we're just keeping it lighthearted. All right, so let's take a look at how we would sketch this out. All right, so very loose. This is the player. Let me bring these down a little bit, the size of my brush. Here's the alien that he meets, and then the ship is back here. I'm not going to draw a big ship or anything yet because I'm afraid I'm going to run out of space. And just holding spacebar here to kind of move the piece of paper around. And so what the first thing I want to do is this is some sort of entrance that the player is entering here. And then we have here the alien ship won't power on. It lost its key card. So we need the rock, which could be over here. And then the key card is just sitting next to it or on top of it, right? Find the key card next to the rock and go and use it to get in the spaceship. Enter the ship and discover the engine room. So we enter this way. This is just going to be the main, entrance. And then we could prompt them and say, hey, you know what? The engine room is over here. Let's see if I can bring that down even more. And so this is like the main, like kind of entrance area. And then maybe there's another door here or another door here, that we could have it open up to. But mainly it's the engine room. Now what happens is the engine room locks down, right? Enter the ship, discover the engine room, turn on the power switch. So the power switch is going to be here, right? So we'll just signify that as our power switch. And I'll draw like an arrow there. Power switch. Okay, and then that leads to a ladder. If you flip it, the door closes, but also this ladder appears, which takes us up into the medical bay, which is here. We'll just make it really big. Meet an alien doctor. So the alien doctor is here, and I'll draw like feet. And he's leaning against maybe the medical table, and he's hurt. He is injured and needs medicine. Find the medicine cabinet. Maybe the medicine cabinet is here. And then we can give the player options like find the medicine cabinet. We'll just make it explicit. Look on the table, which could be here. So we're just coming up with just very loose. And then we need to grab it from here, and then we need to give the medicine back to the alien doctor. So this is kind of our rough map. I would hope you guys would spend more time and have more fun kind of drawing out the map and stuff, and like signify like alien, player. Again, this is all really just sort of loose and hard to type on, and then this is some sort of path. Well, maybe the path doesn't need to be there. So okay, so now we have this. So I'm going to actually show you when we get time to put this up, how you're going to place this on your website when we're done. All right, so we've got all this. So let's jump back to our program here, and let's see like how we'll build this out in Twine. So I'm going to hit New, and then this will be uh, Alien Doctor, and this is like our Alien Doctor story. Okay, I'm going to hit Create here. All right, so let's double click this and make this our start passage. So let's rename it, name it start. And I'm going to pause the video and just type it out so that you don't have to watch me type everything. All right, so this is kind of new, and we might have to actually put this in another node called, or passage called startup, in case this gives us trouble later with variables. But what we have here is, this is something we didn't cover in the last video, and this is called a variable, and we're going to get into much more detail into variables in later videos. But for now, we have a variable that's called has keycard and another one that's called has medicine. And what we're storing in this variable, and you get to give variables just a temporary storage place, but we want to set each one of these variables to false. So this variable is currently holding false, which means we do not have the key card and we do not have medicine. So the next thing is, and actually let me go ahead and click test from here so you could see this in action. And so you see here, we've set these to false, and then the next thing, by putting this little hashtag here, we've made this our title. So we're standing outside the alien spaceship. Help, my ship has no power, lost my key card. You look around the area, there's a large rock next to the spaceship. What do? Do you search near the rock, or do you talk to the alien? So we haven't done these two passages yet here. And so what we'll do is, and we've already covered these links to rock and alien. So let's go ahead and let me double click this. I'll close out of this guy, and we'll work on the rock. All right, I went ahead and did both the rock and the alien. So we go to our rock here, and you can see I did hashtag the rock. And so what that'll do is, if we start story from here, or no, we want to start story from here, but we want to just test from here. You can see it makes it big here, and it says you walk over the large rock beside the spaceship, you search the rock and dirt. Suddenly, something shiny catches your attention. You found a strange electronic key. You now have the alien's key card. You click go to ship. We don't have anything yet. But what we're doing is we're linking both of these. So here's the alien, same thing. And then search near the rock or go to the spaceship door, right? So what happens though is we're trying to, if we search near the rock or we go to the spaceship door, right, by the alien. So here we have these two options, right? We go back here, talk to the alien. So let's see what happens if we go the alien route, right? Because what we're doing is we're going to jump from our alien to the rock. So let's test this out. So we've already gone through this. Do we want to look at the rock or do we want to talk to the alien? If we talk to the alien, it says, you approach the alien. He looks worried. My spaceship can't start without power. He says, I lost my key card. I think I dropped into the rock. You look towards the large rock. Do you go to the spaceship? Okay, we don't know yet. We look back. We search near the rock. We found it. Then we go back to the spaceship. So you're thinking about your branching narrative as it continues on here. Like, how are we, essentially, like, how are you connecting all of these pieces, right, to come back and forth as you're thinking about it? And that's how you sort of use this as your rough outline as you continue to go, right? So let's set up the spaceship door and see how we react without having the key card or having the key card. All right, so here we have our spaceship door. And it says you stand in front of the spaceship. The door has a small electronic card reader. If we have the key card, it does this. Else, that means we don't. We can go back to the rock or we can go back and talk to the alien. Something to point out that I think I forgot is what we're doing here in the middle of our passage is we're actually setting that variable to true after you go to the rock and then we go to the spaceship door. So let's go ahead and go back to our story. So let's kind of move this over a little bit and let's see how that looks. So let's say we don't go to the rock, right? So we talk to the alien and we go to the spaceship. It says you stand in front of the spaceship. The door has a small electronic card. You try to open the door, but it won't move. The card reader is blinking red. You need the key card. We go to the rock. When we go back to the spaceship, and it says you stand in front of the spaceship. The door has a small electronic card reader. You take out the alien's card and place it in the reader. Beep. The door light opens. Enter the spaceship. Now we are in the spaceship. All right, let's work on the spaceship now. And remember, if we look at our rough outline here, and we have a map we have this map here that's helping us understand, okay, we enter the main entrance here, we need to go to the engine, we need to turn on the power switch, and then the door, lock, and player need to climb a ladder into the medical room. So let's knock that out. All right, so here is our engine room. So we are in the engine room. You enter the spaceship. The hallway is dark. You carefully walk deep into the ship until you discover a large room filled with strange machines. You have found the engine room. In the center of the room is a large power switch. The switch is currently off. What do? Do you turn it on or do you explore the engine room further? You can see here, once we added these two options, well, zoom out a little bit here. Sometimes it doesn't, you get these two options here, right? So as we're going through, let's go ahead and I'll fill these out. All right, so to save time, because this lesson's getting a little longer and we're using a lot of the same stuff, I was just going to run through it. So inside of this, where we have is he injured or needs medicine, finding him. So we have the power switch. So we're in the engine room, and you can see we have power switch and exploring engine room. If we go to each one of these, I just want to show you briefly kind of the way that I keep setting this up, right? Like where there's a lot of repetition behind this. Let's actually just go ahead and scale this up so we could see this a little better. We have the power switch here. So you grab the large power switch, you pull it down, click, and then I just have it leading to the medical room. So once that goes up, the door suddenly locks. You try to open it, won't open. You notice the ladder leading upwards. Do you climb the ladder, right? So leading to the medical room. So because I wanted these two to branch into here, what I'm doing is I'm sort of doing this pattern. And we talk a little bit about the design patterns for narrative later. But notice that I have this where it branches out. You have the option of coming back. You have the option of coming here. But I try to keep the story cluster contained within a certain section. See, you see the same pattern here. We go here. We have the option of going back or coming here. And then once we go to this power switch, this is the main node that feeds the story along. And you see that happening a lot here, even with my ending, right? We jump to this one, the medical room one. And it's like, you climb the ladder and enter the room. It appears to be a medical room. Suddenly you hear a noise. You turn around and an alien doctor is sitting on the floor. He's injured. Do you give him medicine or do you go to the doctor? Well, if you go to the medicine cabinet, you set medicine to true. But if you go to the doctor, we have a statement here. And it says you return to the engine alien doctor. And that's where these if statements are important. I found your medicine. So this is if we have the medicine. And that only happens if we go here. If we go to the doctor, it says, no, we're going to do this. I need medicine. The doctor says, you don't have any medicine yet? Search the medicine cabinet. So I force them to go back to the medicine cabinet and then get the medicine, set it to true, then go to the doctor, and then we have the ending. And the ending looks like this. Here, I can show you. We'll test from here so you can see what that looks like. We have a summation of what we did. And if they want to play again, they could play the whole thing over again. They can search near the rock, go to the spaceship, enter the spaceship, turn on the power switch, click clang, climb the ladder, and then again, do we search it? Do we talk to the alien doctor? I need medicine, search the medicus, and then you're forced to give the medicine to the doctor. And you can see my variables updating here. And you return to the injured alien doctor. I found your medicine. Now I can help you get the ship moving, continue, and then that's the end of the story. The alien doctor walks over to the ship's control panel. He presses several buttons. The engines roar to life. The ship begins to shake. Thank you for helping me. So your assignment And now what I think I'll do is I'll stop this video here, and then in the next video, we'll cover how to submit your assignment on your website.